Ciao, sono Paolo Bettini e mi raccomando, guardate il Tour de France su ITV.
That blue bridge you can see in the distance holds the red kite, the sign in international cycling which indicates there's 1,000 metres left to go, and that's the sign that all of the sprinters use when they decide just exactly how they're going to run out their sprint. Well, yesterday at 500 metres to go there was a nasty series of chicanes, and that's what provoked the accident which delayed the majority of the bike riders in the Tour de France. No such thing like that today, because from that blue bridge and the red kite all the way to the finish line in the distance, it's a nice straight line. And in fact, yesterday, by the way, the last kilometre was covered in just 59 seconds. That's an average speed of 61 kilometres an hour. Not bad on a push bike, eh?
Now, on the subject of the final sprint, there's a 20-second bonus for the winner, and both Robbie McEwen and Alessandro Petacchi started the day less than 20 seconds behind Brad McGee. And having both picked up 2-second bonuses at the intermediate sprints, they're now even closer. So the big concern for FDJ will be stopping one of these two winning, because victory for either one of them would take the yellow jersey off McGee. Of course, first they've got to catch Frederic Fino, who with 8 kilometres to go is still holding out with a lead of 1 minute 19.
Well, I know these pictures in Australia are going to be welcomed, because this man could be saving the yellow jersey here. As he moves up, Baden Cook is 2 riders behind him, the big sprinter on the same team. And now, Française de Jeu, the team of the Maillot Jaune of Bradley McGee, have come to the front to drive on, which means they're taking responsibility for the race leader. Paolo Bettini, the new world #1, he's been out with injury. I think has come back with a fresh pair of legs to the sport, because he's riding superbly. And he's trying now to go it alone. But look at McGee, Paul, just sitting in there, hanging on as the champion of Italy drives clear. And is that David Miller coming across?
Big response from Cofidis on the front end. This is the champion of Italy, world #1, leader of the World Cup, accelerating now on this small climb, which is really hurting the lone leader at the front. His time gap now, Phil, has gone inside the 1 minute mark. Bradley McGee is marking all of these moves. The whole of the main field has come back together one more time. The next time we get a time check, it's only going to be 30 seconds.
Bettini on the front driving. This rider isn't going to survive this onslaught. I can't see it now. He's got to look for the 5 kilometres to go banner, and it's not going to come quick enough.
It won't come quick enough at all. It's 38 seconds. Now David Miller on the attack. Miller from Scotland has launched the attack ahead of the yellow jersey, but he has been marked as well immediately by Brad McGee. There you can see the Telecom riders moving for another counter-attack coming off the front end of this main field. It may not well be a day for the sprinters.
Well, David Miller was on the attack, but this is a counter-attack now as well. Everybody, it seems, wants to get in on the act. This is the Gerolsteiner rider, Olaf Pollock, I think it is, out in front at the moment. Or is it Angel Casero himself who's launched an attack? Oh, it's Rennie Hasselbacher. It's the long flowing locks. I wasn't too sure which one hadn't had his haircut this week. Well, Hasselbacher now, after seeing an attack, it's down to just 17 seconds. So if our camera swings, we are going to see Frederic Fino, and it's going to be a very sad sight indeed.
But the yellow jersey is on the attack, Phil. This is unbelievable. Brad McGee sat at the back of the main field for the majority of the day. He's now come forward to take responsibility, and you look at that big long line in the main field. Everybody is in absolute agony right now. They're just hoping for this race to be over today as we accelerate. This is Petacchi's teammates at the back here. Now, this is rather a surprise, because the man we were expecting to be up the front to win the bike race, Petacchi, is going off the back.
5 kilometres to go. I think they'll split the bunch with a chase like this. I think the sprinters might have overdone it for themselves today, because the men we call the stayers, the long-term prospects for the big finish, have all of a sudden got involved in this. There is the bunch at 5 kilometres to go. They're on him, and he's about 8 seconds in front. 3 miles from the finish, Paul, and he's been in the lead since 200 kilometres. Incredible.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. There he is, and when we pull back, we will see the charge of the main field. He will get gobbled up by the peloton before we come into town. There they are. They are just a little bit further back, and this is going to be a very nervous moment. A lot of the sprinters have moved themselves back into this bike race. There's the yellow jersey, but where is the green jersey of Robbie McEwen? You can see there in the front end of the main field as well, Eric Zabel is white jersey national champion of Germany this year. This guy is surviving. He won't give up. No. He can't give up. He's got to keep riding until they come right by him. This is unbelievable, Phil, as we come now at 4 kilometres to go.
4 kilometres to go. It's 200 kilometres since this race started. It's 195 since he broke clear of them. and they're breathing down the seat of his pants. There they are, of 4 kilometres to go. But now they're beginning to look at who is going to make the move. If they hesitate, of course, he'll hang on. There's still a chance, but it is a slim one.
It's a very slim chance. I don't think he'll do it, because look at this acceleration coming at the front end of the main field right now. They're trying to get it sorted out. Bradley McGee is looking to stay at the front end of the main field. Just in front of him there is Stuart O'Grady. Right up there in the 4th position slot is Baden Cook. He's a very good sprinter. He'll try and make sure he can get himself across the line in first place. And in fact, Brad McGee has said what he wants to do for the rest of the Tour de France is try and lead out the sprints for his teammate Cook. Through this small chicane, everybody upright for the moment. The pressure is absolutely and utterly on. We are touching speeds right now, Phil, of around about 60 kilometres an hour.
Along the thin line, and Bradley McGee is not certain to keep his race lead if and when he catches Frederic Fino, because there are others with the win bonus could take that jersey away from him, and one is, of course, Robbie McEwen. Paul, we are under 3 kilometres to go.
3 kilometres to go. It's going to be less than 4 minutes. This is the man who's led the race since the 5th kilometre when he attacked, but right now the main part of the peloton is right on his tail. There's the yellow jersey of Brad McGee right in the middle of all the action. What a shame. I thought a few moments ago this guy was going to survive, but the 195 kilometre breakaway, it just really wasn't close enough to the finish. 2
kilometres and a bit from the end. They've caught Frederic Fino, and I've just heard a gasp on the television commentary position here by all of the TV commentators. I don't think I've ever heard that before. I think they're all as disappointed as Frederic Fino, because that was a brave attack. But he's wiped out, Paul. It's back to the sprinters.
Well, it's not necessarily the sprinters, because that climb just about 4 kilometres ago hurt an awful lot of the sprinters. The man I expected to win the stage, Alessandro Petacchi's at the back end of the main field. I doubt if he'll be able to get to the front before we get into the final finishing straight here in Sedan. But look at the yellow jersey. He's well up there in 4th position, riding very well. He wants to keep this yellow jersey for another day.
Well, remember, Brad McGee won a stage with a slight uphill finish in Avranches last year. Now, this isn't uphill all the way to the line, but it might give Brad McGee the strength he needs to hold the sprinters, the pure sprinters at bay. 2 kilometres to go now. Oscar Freire, I've noticed in there. There's Eric Zabel on second wheel. Stuart O'Grady has got Zabel's wheel, that other white jersey there. Up on the left-hand side of the road goes the Brioche boys now, so they're looking to move their sprinter into the action as well.
That's Jean-Patrick Nazon. He is actually sprinting very well so far in the Tour de France, dropping a bit further back there. Brad McGee goes round that corner in 5th place. We want to get round these corners as safely as possible. We know that the Nazon brothers are both very good sprinters, and they're getting themselves organised. Eric Zabel down into about 5th place. He doesn't have too many teammates around him. The orange jersey a bit further back is the man who was 2 times champion of the world, Oscar Freire. But Brad McGee is doing a brilliant ride right now. Stuart O'Grady is there too.
O'Grady's there now. This is the lead out for the rider in 3rd place here. Damien Nazon, the brother of Jean-Patrick, who's been sprinting well earlier today, but also up there is the yellow jersey, who knows he may have to win the stage to keep yellow, because there is a 20-second win bonus. As they line up now for the finish, there'll be no complaints about this finishing line. It is dead straight, and it's the Brioche team now trying to lead their sprinters to the line. There's only one of them left. That's Damien. Hey, here goes McGee. McGee has broken early, but he is a pursuiter. He has terrific speed in those legs. Nazon is chasing him.
The lime green jersey, there's Freddie Rodriguez. He's well up there for the Vinny Calderolo team. Up into 3rd place, you can see all over the front of this main field is Eric Zabel. McGee has led them out, but he's not going to win the stage right now. There's a moment of hesitation. Bettini's in the middle. Oscar Freire is starting down the right-hand side. This is going to be a bolt for the finishing line. In fact, there's some confusion moving up there right now. You can see Eric Zabel in the middle.
Zabel is in the middle, but Jan Kersipou is also breaking in the centre now. So too is Jean-Patrick Nazon. They're all getting in on the act here. A final dash for the line now is Jean-Patrick Nazon, who's launched himself, and I think that's Kersipou challenging on the right, and on the left now comes the sprinters too from and he's got it, and I'm trying
Baden Cook.
Baden Cook. I completely forgot about Baden Cook, and he continues the happy saga of the FrancaisDesJeux.com team, because with Baden Cook getting the win, then his teammate McGee will keep, we think, the yellow jersey. It has to go to the seconds on the calculation, but what an unbelievable finish. And just when I thought Jan Kersipou had got it, up came Cookie and took it off him. Here's the finish. Baden Cook is too far away. He gets 20 seconds for the win. He'll move to within 4 seconds of yellow. He'll be second tonight with David Miller. What a terrific race.
Terrific for the Aussies and for FDJeux.com. Baden Cook with his first Tour de France stage win ahead of Jean-Patrick Nazon and Jan Kursipuu, with Eric Zabel edged into 4th, and Robbie McEwen never really in contention, placing 6th. Behind the big sprint, all the contenders finished safely. Lance Armstrong, David Miller and the injured Tyler Hamilton among them. 10 minutes later, though, rolling in on his own with just his neck brace for company, was Jimmy Casper, looking extremely uncomfortable, but conceding nothing.
Ouais, bah c'est atypique des cyclistes, on n'est pas des fillettes, et puis quand on a mal, eh ben, on fait un peu abstraction de tout ça pour pouvoir se dépasser.
Il y a la possibilité de continuer à loin comme ça?
Bah, je l'espère, oui, sinon je serais pas reparti ce matin.
But Jimmy Casper wasn't the last man in. Italy's Danilo De Luca, suffering a 38-degree temperature, limped in 12 minutes behind the field. So in his second tour, Baden Cook bags his first stage win and keeps his mate Brad McGee in the yellow jersey as an added bonus. Or was it the other way round? Whichever it was, he was delighted, and afterwards he spoke to Ned.
What a race, Baden. You timed your attack perfectly on the line there.
Oh, so many times I always misjudge the sprints and I go too early and I get past in the line, and today it was me coming from behind. I just stayed so calm and left it to the last minute, and it paid off. It's like the jackpot.
An enormous amount of teamwork there for you to get that stage win and for Bradley to keep the yellow shirt.
Yeah, well, normally I should have been on Brad's wheel, but coming into the corner I got swamped and lost the wheel. And so he just pulled the sprint to keep it lined out anyway. And at the last minute I went to move up and someone moved, so I got on the wheel and I just worked out like clockwork. I came through right at the right time and hit out, and it was unbelievable.
Now, as well as preserving the race lead for his teammate, Baden Cook's stage win moves him up to 3rd place overall, just behind David Miller. And Jean-Patrick Nazon's 2nd place on the stage installs him in the top 6. No change in the time gaps for Tyler Hamilton, Lance Armstrong and company, while Robbie McEwen is still within stage-winning distance of the yellow jersey, just 16 seconds back. In the meantime, Brad McGee is grateful he didn't lose it today to a brave solo French effort.
For a long time though, Bradley, it was nip and tuck with that breakaway, wasn't it? It didn't look like you were going to catch it.
At 25k to go, we've all looked at each other and gone, that's it, it's finished. But then we realised that there was some long drags, you know, some really nasty pinches in that last 20k, and a guy who's been out there all day, he's going to have heavy legs. He obviously lost a lot of time there.
So listen to this, stage win Australia, yellow jersey Australia, green jersey Australia, everyone else might as well go home.
I think things might change once we hit the mountains, mate.
For the moment, though, Brad McGee has nothing steeper than the top step of the podium to worry about, and tomorrow he'll start in yellow for the 3rd straight day. Robbie McEwen, meanwhile, will be in green for the 2nd straight day. Total Antipodean domination, just the way the French planned it to celebrate the Tour's centenary. And the way things are going, an Australian's probably going to win our competition. We've got a superb Trek bike on offer, remember, if you could answer one simple question about the defending Tour de France champion. Now, according to Lance Armstrong's best-selling autobiography, it's not about the bike. Then he doesn't have to buy his own, does he? Anyway, Lance is the subject of our competition, and we're bowling under a predicted top temperature out on the road. There's the GC, the general classification. Brad McGee from David Miller and Baden Cook, with Cook a candidate to take the yellow jersey off his teammate if he wins any sprint bonuses. And the same goes for Jean-Patrick Nazon, who's been contesting more of the intermediate sprints than Cook. Tyler Hamilton is gingerly holding on to 8th place, 2 ahead of Lance Armstrong. And Robbie McEwen, 16 seconds back, is also in striking distance of the yellow jersey should he win the stage. A 20-second bonus, remember, for the stage winner. Now then, at the first sprint of the day, Jan Kursipuu just edged out Jean-Patrick Nazon and Robbie McEwen. So Nazon, with a 4-second bonus there, moved up to within a couple of seconds of the race lead. The daily break went at the 33-kilometre mark, and surprise, surprise, there was an FDJ rider in it, Carlos da Cruz, who, despite the name is French. He was joined by Euskaltel's Venezuelan Unai Echevarria in the orange strip, and Marianne Ari of Brioche Boulangère,
who is asking about how the average speeds of the Tour have changed over the years, and of course they've gone quicker and quicker. Back in 1903 it was Maurice Guérin who recorded an average speed of 25.679 kilometres an hour for the whole Tour. It took 30 years before Anton Magnier really pushed it on a ways by an extra 5 kilometres, 30.360. And then the king of cycling, Eddy Merckx, in winning the 1971 event, reset the target at 38.084 kilometres in the hour. And then the big hard man from America, Lance Armstrong, when he made his first victory in 1999, he set what is still the record at 40.276 kilometres an hour. Now, Dave Young from Bristol is saying, who has completed the most tours? Pretty easy question, that, Paul.
Well, it is if you rode most of them with him, and in fact Joop Zoetemelk is the man who rode the most, and I rode a lot of my tours at the same time as he did. He rode the Tour de France 16 times, he finished 16 times. He really is almost the king of the podium because he finished second on 6 occasions, mostly behind Eddy Merckx and Bernard Hinault, but he did get himself a victory, and that was in 1980.
Right, now let's have a look. We've got one here. Sarah Dodds from King's Lynn are using their teammates to good effect. Winning the Tour de France, being great at climbing mountains, riding time trials, winning sprints. The others they use as helpers to put them in the right positions to do their sport best.
Well, just coming into Morzine right now, the lone leader is going to take maximum points on this hotspot sprint competition. The organisers of many of the big races around the world brought the hotspot sprint competition into the race to try and liven up the early part. When I used to race, Phil, the first 100 kilometres of this race used to be very much just like a promenade, so the organisers wanted to create a sprint which could cause a moment in the race where there could be a counter-attack. We've seen it happen a couple of times so far in the Tour de France this year, and that was one reason for starting this competition. And over the last couple of years it's become very much more important because to that recipe they've added this time bonus thing where you can win seconds which are taken away from your overall classification, and that's why the sprinters are so alert on the opening stages of the Tour de France, because they can actually win time back at these points out on the course, and it gives them a chance of possibly leading the race before we get into the mountains and they disappear and lose 30 or 40 minutes.
So as Jeslan comes up, he'll get the 6 seconds on offer. Not so important to him. Well, it will be if he doesn't get caught, of course, but at the moment not so important. But I can promise you there is going to be one terrific sprint for second place, and the men who will get involved in it will be Jean-Patrick Nazon, Robbie McEwen, possibly Baden Cook, Jan Kersipou, Stuart O'Grady are all looking for those few seconds that could, today, tomorrow or the next day, mean a yellow jersey for one of them. And we're getting a time check here now, Paul. It's coming down rather rapidly because they're racing for the sprint bonuses to 1 minute and 35 seconds. Here we now have the riders on the AG2R trying to set up the sprint for Jan Kersipou. He was hot on the first one at Le Chêne this morning at 30 kilometres. He won that from Nazon and McEwen. And it looks as though he's told the boys to go again. Now, Jean-Patrick Nazon is getting involved in this again. He's the second wheel here on the left side as they warm up for the line now. They'll close in very quick. Now, Nazon is coming clear. No sign of McEwen at all. This is going to be 4 seconds for Jean-Patrick. If he gets it, it'll put him 8 seconds in the yellow jersey. Now, this is going to be a tremendous result as he comes clear. And, well, that was pretty easy, Paul. 8 seconds advantage now. Well, it looks like the yellow jersey might well be changing shoulders by the end of the day.
What a chaotic sprint it was as well. Looking down, you can see Kersipou all over the road trying to find the right wheel to follow. He sits up just towards the end and gets himself a nice second place. But for Nazon, that is an impressive performance there.
So it'll be Jeslan out on his own by just over 1 minute and 10 seconds. So they've closed in very rapidly. Jean-Patrick Nazon taking the 4 second bonus. Gives him a lead in the race now, providing they catch the leader out on the road of 8 seconds. There is 20 seconds for the win. Now, Bradley McGee, I don't think, will have the legs to win a sprint. I think whatever happens now, he is losing his lead in the Tour de France. But it is possible he could still go across to a teammate in Baden Cook.
Hi, I'm Leon van Bon. You're watching the Tour de France on ITV.
Cooperative Bank, Our typical loan rate is now just 7.4% APR, so you can afford to dream a little, whatever your flight of fancy, with £2,000 to £25,000 to spend on anything you want, from practical plans to practically anything, at home or abroad. So if you're a homeowner or hold a credit or debit card, for dreams big or small, choose a cooperative bank low-rate loan. Call 0800 90 50 90 or apply online at dreamloan.co.uk. What will you use yours for?
Does your car insurance guarantee you a courtesy car? Check your policy, then just ask the AA for a quote on 0800 444 777.
To grip, at each corner, at each moment. That's our commitment at Michelin. Michelin, high performance, time and again. And for exceptional driving performance, the new Michelin Pilot Sport.
If you've been refused credit for a car, there are lots of good reasons to call Yes Car Credit. Because as long as you're aged between 18 and 62 with a full UK driving licence, are working and can prove your income, we could help you, whatever your credit history. And you could use your old car as full deposit, whatever its condition, even without an MOT. And choose from a wide selection of quality assured cars, all with AA cover included. We'll make sure your repayments are tailored to suit your budget. And if you find and accept an unsecured loan at a lower APR than ours within 28 days, you can settle your finance agreement with no interest or penalties. And if that still isn't enough reason to call us, we also offer a 7-day no-quibble return policy if you're not 100% satisfied. Which all adds up to complete peace of mind. To arrange a visit to one of our showrooms nationwide, call free on 0800 032 8411 or click on yescarcredit.net. We're waiting to say yes.
Whoever and wherever you are, an Open University course can add a whole new dimension to your life. You can make your career take off. You can work with tutors and meet new friends. You can discover new interests. With part-time learning, you can fit your studies into your day. Whether you have qualifications or not, you can transform your life. Call the Open University on 0800 733 766 for a free prospectus. Do it now. That's 0800 733 766.
Hi, I'm Stuart O'Grady and you're watching the Tour de France on ITV.
Welcome back. Now, before we rejoin the racing, your daily chance to win a superb Trek road bike in our competition. Now, according to Lance Armstrong's best-selling autobiography, it's not about the bike. Then he doesn't have to buy his own, does he? Anyway, Lance is the subject of our competition, and we're bowling underarm with this question. We want to know how many times in succession Lance Armstrong has won the Tour. Is it 2, 4 or 6? 09001 22 9922 is the number to call, and lines close at midnight next Saturday. First correct answer out of the hat wins this superb Trek 1000 bike. And for 5 runners-up, there are copies of the official Tour de France Centennial book, which is packed with original race reports and some superb archive photos. By the way, all the competition details are on the ITV website, and that's also the place to log on to if you've got any questions for us. All right, let's rejoin the action now with Anthony Geslan, the lone SKP, still out front with a little over 18 kilometres left to race, but unlikely to be there for much longer.
Well, they look as though, Paul, they're just riding tempo again, but the time check is coming down as we speak. It's down to 40 seconds.
These guys know exactly what sort of effort they need to put in to pull back a man in the last few kilometres of a race like this. They allowed him to hover at 3 minutes, I think, Phil. There was one team on the front, Jean de la Tour, keeping that gap at a nice, sensible 3-minute margin, because they knew as they got closer to the finish, the teams of the sprinters would start to swamp the front end of the main field, as they are doing right now. The white and blue jerseys are Fassa Bortolope. They will be thinking about setting the sprint up for Alessandro Petacchi. On the right-hand side, the lime green jerseys, that's the team of Roman Weinsteins, but I think they're starting to designate their American sprinter, Freddie Rodriguez, as the man to go for the sprints there, because yesterday Rodriguez wasn't too far away in 9th position, and maybe getting back to the sprinting form he had a couple of years ago when he rode for the great Mappé squad.
Well, he's had his moments this year, especially in the Tour of Georgia, which was a new race on the American program. Now 35 seconds. the last chance to give him water. I'm not sure he should even be giving him water at this stage of the race because we're inside 20 kilometres to go.
In fact, I just caught a quick glimpse of the race referee there telling the Brioche La Boulangère team to stop that now very much and please pull over to the side, which means the gap has gone inside of 30 seconds. This man took on board a lot of drinks and they're not for him. Again, very professional move here. He knows he's going to get caught right now. He will get caught by the front end of the main field. He's got an excess of bottles in his bag and he can just hand them out to the teammates as they come by.
That's absolutely right. He's done a great job for the team though, and that's for sure, because he's put his team on television throughout France for the last nearly 2 hours in this breakaway of his own. The crowd are waving now as they're running steadily into the first time finish in Saint-Dizier. 25 seconds they're saying. Well, hasn't hosted any finish before, you know, and we've had 100 years of the Tour de France. And tomorrow we stay in Saint-Dizier for the finish of the team time trial. So even for all the race followers, 2 nights in the same hotel, what a bonus.
Well, that's a great bonus for the bike riders especially. They really get a bit fed up with every morning. It's the same old deal. You've got to get up, have breakfast, close the suitcase has to go to the van, on to the next place. For the followers and helpers as well, it's also a great day. It's almost a rest, even though they still got to get up at the same time, eat the same food, and still get onto the bike and put in a full day's effort.
Well, here comes the catch, and it's going to be at around 16 kilometres from the finish when it's all over for him. But a brave effort and a wonderful experience in his first Tour de France when you're only 23 years of age. And that really is quite a young age to be in the Tour de France. For any bike rider, no matter how good they think they are, this is a totally different bike race to all of the ones that have ridden before. There he is, and it is the Italian team in the white jersey of Fassa Bortolo who are now taking command of the race in the hope they can launch their missile, which is Alessandro Petacchi at the finish. But I'll have to tell you, yesterday he got a bit rough towards the end, and Petacchi was actually left behind and tailed in. He never saw the finish. There's the beautiful Chateau Clodo. Very nice. There's plenty of those in France, though, Paul.
Nice piece of real estate, Phil. Looks just like your house, doesn't it?
Thank you.
Anyway, still front end of the main field, really picking up the pace making right now. The teams of the sprinters, what they want to do now, Phil, is to keep the pace up around 50 kilometres an hour. The idea being that there can't be any counter-attacks, and that's what really does give them a tough time when, as they prepare themselves for the sprint, prepare themselves to get their men into the right position, attacks come hurtling by and they've got to respond to those attacks.
15 kilometres to go now, and the field is all together, everything, as they say, to race for.
Hola, soy Oscar Freire y ustedes están viendo el Tour de Francia en ITV.
Four by four.
Looking for a loan company that listens to you and understands what you want, offers a huge choice of loans and mortgages, provides great customer service and more? Well, if you're a homeowner, call Purple Loans free on 0800 499 499. They promise to act fast and aim to get you the best deal, even if you've had problems getting finance elsewhere. So whether it's that dream holiday you've been promising yourselves, improving your home with a fantastic new kitchen, clearing your existing debts and reducing your outgoings, or even a brand new car, add colour to your life and call Purple Loans now on 0800 499 499 or apply online.
Is the interest rate on your credit card starting to take over your life? Well, help is at hand. Call 0800 10 20 20 and we'll send you details of the RBS Advanta card, which you'll pay no interest on until next January, on balance transfers and purchases, and there's no annual fee. After this, you'll benefit from our low standard rate of 14.9% APR. Cut your credit card rate down to size. Call us now on 0800 10 2020.
You've just renewed your car insurance. But did you really get a great deal? Did you ask the AA for a quote, for example? After all, the AA promised to find you the cheapest possible quote they can from one of their panel of recommended insurers. Call 0800 444 777 for a great deal from the AA, Britain's biggest car insurance broker. Just ask.
Is athlete's foot driving you up the wall? A solution is Once Daily Lamisil AT spray. It starts to work effectively to treat athlete's foot in just 7 sprays.
Hello? Oh yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, of course I love you. Of course I do, yeah. I'm a bit busy right now. Can I...
Sage My X6, the latest technology now available to all.
Hi, I'm Fred Rodriguez. You're watching Tour de France on ITV.
We've had some pretty dramatic sprint finishes so far, but this again is going to be another dodgy one. Way over there in the distance is the final kilometre flag, and then it's a 500-yard sweeping bend to come to this corner here. Once the guys come around that corner, and they will be hugging that corner tightly up against the barriers, they'll sweep across the road in a diagonal line to that corner over there. They'll know from reading the race book that once they go around that corner, the finish line will open up in front of them. This is the dangerous part. Riders will take a straight line across here. If you're caught on the wrong side of a wheel of the rider making a change of direction, that's when the wheels touch, that's when the accidents happen. It's a dodgy sprint, an exciting sprint. It's a kind of sprint that the young rider like Baden Cook will be looking for. He's young, he's not scared of anybody, and he'll take the risks.
Back out on the road, the pack is all together and closing in on the danger zone. With a little over 10 kilometres to go, the Fassa Bortolo team of Alessandro Patacchi are dictating the pace.
We're not too far away now from the finishing line, and everybody's starting to take a lot more attention to this pacemaking at the front end of the main field. I think the word has gone out, Phil, from Alessandro Patacchi that yesterday was just a moment's falter when he was dropped on the last climb of the day and trailed in 1 minute and 35 seconds in arrears. Today he's probably told the men in the white and blue strip of Fassa that he is going to go for the sprint.
It looks as though Christoph Brandt has been set up there, sent up by Robin McEwen for Lotto, just behind this rider here. The yellow jersey on the left is Bradley McGee. It's very unusual to see a race leader at the head of the peloton working quite so hard when it's a sprinter stage like this. But McGee has such a lot of pure speed in those legs, and he is in fact a very strong lead-out man for his friend Baden Cook. And on this occasion, a lead-out and a win by Baden Cook would keep the yellow jersey on the team, even though McGee himself would lose it.
10 kilometres to go right now. Jimmy Casper at the back end of the main field, getting tailed off, but the important thing for Jimmy Casper is he's managed to stay in the Tour de France. He won't get eliminated being dropped at just 10 kilometres to go. There's only about 12 minutes of racing left. But Phil, there's a lot of discussion in the press room about the non-selection of Mario Cipollini. Maybe we're not talking about just the selection of Mario Cipollini himself, but from his team. A lot of the teams in the Tour de France here have multiple agendas. They don't have just one man or one sprinter to look after, which is why some of the teams right now are not controlling the front end of the main field, maybe as much as the Domino Vacanze team of Mario Cipollini would do. Cipollini's team only came to races to look after Mario. They would drag the main peloton out and stretch them into a long line at 55 kilometers an hour. And to me, that makes the sprinting a lot safer for the sprinters, because it actually puts the whole field in a big long line, and then the climbers, well, they just have to hold on somewhere further down the pack.
But for the viewer, it's not as exciting as when nobody controls the race ball.
Well, you like a bit of rollerball, don't you?
Absolutely.
These men are really digging in deep right now. They're trying to set up the sprint for their man on the front end of the main field. This is Brusegin of Fassa Bortolo. A big long line there of green and white jersey. Crédit Agricole in second position there is Christophe Moreau, a former wearer of the yellow jersey. The next man in third position, a very popular German rider, Jens Voigt. And in fifth position there is Stuart O'Grady. Right behind him is Baden Cook. Baden Cook is wearing the white jersey as leader of the Best Young Rider competition, a competition for riders who are under 26 years of age at the start of the season. And this year in the Tour de France, there are 30 riders in that competition, which is more than there have been for the last few years. A lot of first-timers in the Tour this year as well, as we look at the back end of the main field. And this is one of Tyler Hamilton's teammates going off the back here. And that is rather surprising to see Jakob Peel going off the back, but it may well be that he's going to look after his teammate Tyler Hamilton. A lot of men here getting dropped from the main field.
And this looks like Danilo De Luca has gone again off the back. I make this the 5th time he's been dropped, and probably for good today. He's just going to cruise in. He's unwell. He's determined to ride through it, though the doctors promised him he'll feel better in a couple of days' time.
Well, he's not the only rider to go out the back. We've just seen Jakob Peel getting left behind, and I have a feeling, I'm almost certain that Tyler Hamilton must have been. He's got a double fracture of the clavicle, yet he's managed to remain in the main field. It's a remarkable performance by that man, as we see more and more riders getting shelled off the back end of the main field. Not surprising to see the Jean de la Tour rider here going through. This is Samuel Dumoulin. He did an awful lot of work earlier on to try and keep his teammate well up there, but this is a bit surprising to see here. This is Mercado, not the brother who we're expecting to ride well, but Juan Miguel. He too, for Ibernesto.com, found this fast, flat stage a little bit too much for his thighs.
A nice view of Saint-Dizier as the race courses in for the first time. We found this town in France, despite the fact we've been around for 100 years with the Tour de France. Our first visit here, and they get 2 for the price of 1. We're here again tomorrow as well. But right now, that yellow jersey looks as though it is going to change shoulders for the first time. There is Anthony Jeslan. The man is sitting at the back of this group now, and I think the group has been detached. He's been dropped from the group, but he's had a great day out in front of the peloton for 2 hours today, before being left behind by the sprinters, who are still riding strongly. Just at the bottom left of our picture there, the green jersey, that's Robbie McEwen. He'll move forward and try and get a good position for the running. He said he made a mess of it the other day. Now this rider, Paul, in the other green jersey, that's because he's the champion of Italy, Paolo Bettini, the world's #1. He's coming back from injury, and I've never seen him ride much better. He's really on form.
He's in great form. Let's not forget, he wants to show off his Italian national champion's jersey. He is the #1 bike rider in the world at the moment. He's the leader of the World Cup, but I think winning the Italian national championships has given him some incredible wings. He wants to show his tricolor jersey off. He's in great form, and he'll be looking for the breakaways in a couple of days to come. And we're getting closer and closer to the finish line right now. 4 kilometers to go. It's going to be around about 6 minutes.
Well, as they go, I think it's the 5 kilometers to go, but I might be wrong. I didn't catch it, Paul, but anyway, 4 to go. Judging by the speed, that will be about right. Ulrich is still riding off our camera. But look at this, there is no one team coming to the front. It is just a mass of bike riders trying to get through to see the front of the race. There's no organisation at all. It makes it difficult for the pure sprinters.
Eric Zabel moving down the outside. This is the chaos. This is why it's difficult for the sprinters to get themselves sorted out right now. Looks like Guerini moving down the outside there, or Rolf Aldag in the pink jersey. He wants to pick the pace up so that his man Eric Zabel doesn't get swamped in the last few kilometres. There's a lot of movement in the main field. The yellow jersey moving himself to the front there, making sure that he's got a nice clean look at the road to see just exactly what it looks like.
Servaes Knaven is the man leading the charge here, former champion of the Netherlands. He'll keep a fast tempo. He's not a sprinter. He's trying to get his teammates there. 3 kilometers to go. They're going through the kilometers here. It's a shade under 1 minute a kilometer. That is over 60 kilometers an hour right now.
Everybody tucked in together, but still there's no organisation. A lot of hands coming off the bars here. Looks like Saki moving up there with his teammate. That's Comesso, the small rider with the white helmet and the red shirt there from Saiko. The rider there swinging off. He's done his job right now. He's done a great job for Crédit Agricole. They've kept the pace up. They've brought the race back together. But Phil, there's so much chaos in the front end of that main field.
Wait for the turn.
Because of the fact that nobody wants to set the tempo for their team sprinters just yet.
This is the wide sector of road here, but it changes when they make a sweeping. I think it's a left-hand turn off the quayside as they run up towards the finish. It's a good road, but it does alter direction rather a lot, gently but surely, and they've got to remain focused here. The men at the front now are the big sprinters, and they fought their way through. There's a big rush of Vini Calderola, yellow jerseys up there too, and that would be for Bainstains and Freddie Rodriguez of the United States. But everybody is throwing in their best effort at 2 kilometres to go.
Still chaos in there. Nobody's got control of this pack at all. There's ones and twos moving to the front. AG2R are there. They've got
There's
their
the
man,
left-hander.
Kersipou is up in second or third place. He's so far to the front right now. The orange jerseys are there. It seems as if everybody's got around that corner nice and safe. AG2R pulling off. Kersipou's well up there. Lotto Doma are in, and also Rabobank. That means that Oscar Freire is not too far away.
And maybe Robbie Hunter of South Africa as well, but I think it could be Oscar Freire in second place. Well, that's far too near the front at the moment for him. But as the field now on the rails there to the right of our picture, trying to get through is McEwen, and O'Grady's on the left side, and Sammid's out a little bit there, because this is where the course keeps going right and left into the last 1,000 metres to go.
Last 1,000 metres to go, and there's going to be a long sweeping bend. These riders will move all the way across the road. Vini Calderola on the front end. They'll be looking after their man Freddie Rodriguez. They've got a big nice long line. It's nice and organised for them. Moving up, Leon Van Bon is there for Team Lotto, but I can't see Robbie McEwen. I can see Stuart O'Grady though.
Well, as we come off that bend now, Vina Calderola still trying to work it out, and it looks to me as though CSC are even getting involved in this. This could be a good lead out though for Fred Rodriguez, but Pataki is not far away either. And now as they come into the last 500 metres, it looks as though O'Grady has fallen away from it here, and so too the yellow jersey of McGee. Eric Zabel on the left. Zabel, it's a good finish for Zabel, this one. He's trying to pick up Pataki's wheel as the Feinsteins comes through as well. Now comes round, there's been a crash again, right on the side of the road, as once more out of the field comes Pataki, and I don't think anybody will get it right on the line. Pataki has just taken it. Zabel was there, but there is a rather nasty looking fall as another rider hits the grate, and on the road there, the rider down is Rennie Hasselbacher. A very nasty fall, and let's see if we see it on this picture here. Vina Calderola looked as though they were doing it well, but watch there, in fact Hasselbacher bumps into McEwen. There's a big sandwich out there. Oh, a very nasty fall by Rennie Hasselbacher.
Well, it was, and it also ended any chance Robbie McEwen or Baden Cook had of contesting the sprint. When Hasselbacher eventually trundled over the line trying to keep the cameras out of the rip in his shorts, he wasn't able to shed much light on the crash.
Do you have a clear idea what happened in that crash?
Not really. I think the one guy in front of me was on the brake, and I was the first who was lying on the ground.
For second and third opinions, we asked the Aussies. Hasselbacher almost brought down.
I was right in the wheel of Pataki, and then on the right came Hasselbacher, on the left came Cook, and Hasselbacher's just come up, ridden into a gap that wasn't even there, and dropped himself, and you know, that's when it all started, and I lost the wheel from there and could only come back and see what I could still do in the finish, but the first guys were gone, so it made it dangerous. I mean, it's stupid, because I mean, Hasselbacher does that a bit.
I saw a gap with about 300 or 400 to go. I jumped past on the left, then Robbie went to repass and hit my handlebars, and that's when my foot clicked out, and that was the end of that. I'm pretty lucky I didn't fall off. I was grinding along the barrier with one foot out, so I think the guy behind me fell off. So I'm not in the mood to fall off. So that's one thing.
I was happy I got over the finish line without instead of laying on the ground, you know, and came over the finish with all my skin, because could have just as easily gone down in the crash, because he crashed right on me. So in the end, I guess I'm pretty lucky. I'm uninjured and still leading the green jersey, so it's also good.
So McEwen pointing the finger, or two possibly, at the departing Hasselbacher. For an impartial verdict, Paul Sherwin manned the replay machines for us.
A lot of riders in this tour are taking some serious risks in the sprint, and one of them, I think, is Rennie Hasselbacher. Let's just take a look at this one more time in slow motion. This is Hasselbacher here, already barging onto the back shoulder there of Eric Zabel. He sees Pataki starting the sprint here, moves across, but the two Aussies are locked shoulder to shoulder there, Cook and McEwen. I don't know how they stayed upright. Hasselbacher goes down on the ground. I think it was his own fault. He was weaving around in the middle of that bunch. The result should stand as it is.
Which it did. Alessandro Petacchi winning his second stage in 3 days. Not quite at the record speed the stage had been shaping up for. Nearly 48.5 kilometres though, the fastest of this year's Tour so far. There's confirmation of the result. Petacchi ahead of Romans Weinsteins and Oscar Freire, with Eric Zabel 4th and Robbie McEwen 5th. Brad McGee was in the main bunch, and right behind him was Jean-Patrick Nazon, the man who'd overtaken him on the road in the overall standings. All the other main players finished on the same time. Which meant France had finally retaken control of its national sporting treasure from the Australians. Jean-Patrick Nazon, the first home rider to wear the yellow jersey since François Simon in 2001.
Le Tour de Centenaire, c'est vrai que c'était quelque chose d'exceptionnel. Le départ à Paris, ce prologue, tout ce monde, c'était quelque chose d'exceptionnel, mais c'est vrai quand on est sur le vélo, on se rend moins compte parce que c'est peut-être dans 10 ans, dans 20 ans, dans 30 ans, quand on regardera les cassettes, qu'on montrera à ses enfants ce qu'on a fait, c'est peut-être qu'à ce moment-là, quand on aura plus la joie de ces moments-là, qu'on savourera encore plus. Bon là, je suis en plein tambour battant de ma carrière, donc c'est vrai que j'ai qu'une ambition, c'est d'avancer, bien évidemment, donc je ne veux pas m'arrêter là. Et, je pense que d'ici 5-10 ans, je commencerai à savourer tous ces moments-là, parce qu'après, ça sera fini, quoi.
So there are the standings. Nazon now leads the race from Bradley McGee by 8 seconds, which shunts David Miller down into 3rd. Robbie McEwen and Jan Kirsipuu have sprinted themselves up into the top 10, with Lance Armstrong dropping out of it to 12th. However, the general classification should be unrecognisable by the end of stage 4.
Well, there shouldn't be any crashes in the final sprint tomorrow, mainly because it's a team time trial, and that means we'll finally get a good look at Lance Armstrong and his US Postal team, who've been all but invisible in this race so far. They'll start as favourites for the stage, a 69-kilometre semicircle starting in Joinville and finishing back here in Saint-Dizier. As usual, you can see all the action here on ITV2 tomorrow night at 7 p.m, and those highlights will be repeated late night on ITV1. See you for either or both of those.
Participate in, and they've invested a lot of money into their equipment as well. Solid disc wheels at the rear as we flip a bit further back down the road here to see the team of Lance Armstrong.
Now remember that they're racing for the best times today, because the times go to their individual standing in the Tour de France, and if they get the best time in US Postal, it will give the yellow jersey to Victor Hugo Peña, and Lance Armstrong would move up into 2nd place in the race. So it's very important, but at the moment I'm not so sure that they're going to turn in the best time. They're leaving themselves an awful lot of work to be done here. And Jean-Patrick Nazon, the race leader of the Tour, his team has finished, but with a time so slow, he is not going to be the race leader tomorrow. It's a matter of just working out soon who is.
Maybe a difficult, complicated thing to work out. We haven't yet got a quick time check on the team of Jan Ullrich, but it seems to me at 18 kilometres, US Postal went through with a time of about 21 minutes and 39 seconds, and so they really are some way out of the team, the time of Team Telecom.
Here is now Team Bianchi. Here they are. And remember, we're looking here at the rider Jan Ullrich on his big fight back here on a new team. He's never finished a Tour de France lower than 2nd, and he's won it once, and he is the one man that Lance Armstrong fears if he can find his old form.
Confirmation as we get from the computer. It's rather interesting to see Team Telecom have got themselves the fastest time at the first time check. Armstrong's team a lowly 7th place at that point, but just ahead by 2 seconds of Team Bianchi of Jan Ullrich. It's very important today for Jan Ullrich and his team to show that they have got the strength and depth to possibly challenge Lance Armstrong in the last week of racing here. I think Jan Ullrich will improve as the race goes by now. Going back to the intermediary point at Montier-en-Der, this is a chance to see just how well Team Onti are doing. This team over the last few years have really been the specialists at the Tour de France, and it looks as if they have accelerated, Phil. After a slow start, we're going to get a new best time at 44 kilometres covered, and it will be the team who won last year US Postal Service were beaten by this team, the ONCE team of Spain.
So ONCE arrive at the 44.5 kilometre point. They're sprinting now to top the leaderboard and bring back the reputation. They are the experts at the team time trial. I'm not so sure they're going to get there in the next 10 seconds. Yes, they've gone through just inside 51 minutes. 50.59. ONCE now setting the trend.
Just on the right-hand side there is Josipa Belocchi, the man who finished second to Lance Armstrong last year in the Tour de France. And his team actually beat the US Postal Service by 16 seconds in this discipline just 12 months ago. But 2 years ago, they were beaten into second place by Crédit Agricole, the team that has finished now with a fairly lowly position this afternoon. And they won the competition back in the year 2000.
Well, there's the situation very briefly. 51 minutes rounded up now for the ONCE team. And this looks like, Paul, they've opted on a slow start, and maybe they'll make a fast finish. He's Kelme. Kelme have ridden a little bit out of it. There we are, you see, as they approach the finish. They're already in ninth as they sprint towards the line. They'll slip further away than that, I fear. 3, 6, they've got all the men. That can be a wise decision. All the men will get the same time, whatever it might be, but the clock has counted them down to 10th place at the moment, 1:22.16.
That's about usually where Team Kelme from Spain finish in the team time trial. They've never been able to put it together quite as much as their compatriots, the ONCE squad, who, if you look at these machines here, they've invested a lot of time and money into developing the team time trial machine. The full disc wheel at the back helps to improve the penetration in the air. The handlebars that are clipped in the middle there allow the riders to get down into a very awkward but aerodynamic position. And this event really pushes the team to its absolute maximum, and the leader of the team counts on the strength and depths of his team on a stage like this, because as we said and we keep mentioning, the team time trial relies on the 5th rider in the team to stop the clock, and that's why it is such an important discipline.
And it looks as though even here, Belocchi having a bit of trouble here trying to get onto the back of those wheels. In fact, he sensed that rider in front was tired.
Well, Belocchi really suffering a lot there. You could see the expression of pain on his face, and he's a man who we expect to ride well in the overall classification. But he saw that his teammate who was dropping back there was also in a spot of bother, so he decided to close the gap between the two. A lot of communication between these riders. They're still looking very strong, but let's not forget they're each one of them pushing themselves to the absolute and utter limit. And the reason for that is they're coming up with the fastest time at the second time check. They're leading their compatriots from Spain, ibernesto.com, by 11 seconds. But this is the team of Lance Armstrong. We go back now to Cofidis.
Into the last kilometre for Cofidis, Paul, and I don't think it's going to make very, very good viewing for David Miller, because this team has been rather ragged, but they are keeping the whole team together.
Well, they need to do something for team spirit, because it certainly hasn't been a lot of fun at the team dinner table, I don't think, since the very first day when David Miller felt he was going to get himself the yellow jersey. And there is Miller in second position. And just looking over his shoulder, you can see Médéric Klein, the man who many people gave the responsibility to that first day crash to. Well, he's lost himself a fair amount of time, but they seem to have recovered somewhat in the latter part of the course. And David Miller, well, his dreams of the yellow jersey, I think, will completely and utterly disappear, and he's the man taking up the responsibility here of the last few hundred metres.
Well, he'll drive home. He's a proud man. I think he's leading himself into a position now where he'll look to try and win a stage of the Tour de France, because he'll lose his 3rd place overall tonight as he drives the team towards the line, but the clock continues to count. And remember, there are still 10 teams behind who are riding pretty cool as well. 7th at the moment, 1:20.33 for David Miller's Cofidis team.
David, talk us through it. It's not the ideal race, was it?
No, my team wasn't at its best, but well, I'm going good.
So what went wrong? Was it team tactics? Was where the team performed? Any mechanical problems?
No, they just weren't. They're just not firing, you know. Just not strong enough.
And how much of that do you think you can put down to everything that's sort of been going on in the team and the mechanical?
It's just physical. It's just physical, you know. They're not strong enough. They'll be good in the mountains. They're just not made for that sort of thing, I don't think. So anyway, I'm happy with how I'm going.
That's £171, please, sir.
Oh, because
I thought it was 45.
If you'd looked properly, that's only one way. Without airport tax and, of course, travel insurance.
Okay.
What? We're not going to the moon, you flipping...
Sorry.
Maybe it'd be worth it if she was coming with us. With her sister. I think you're in there. Always listen to the sock and ask what's in it for me. Like 0% on new purchases and cash back on everything you buy with your egg card. Great!
This week in OK, Patsy Kensit at home with exclusive pictures and interview on why she'll never marry again. With hot stars inside OK, we've got it covered.
Looking for a loan company that listens to you and understands what you want, offers a huge choice of loans and mortgages, provides great customer service and more? Well, if you're a homeowner, call Purple Loans free on 0800 499 499. They promise to act fast and aim to get you the best deal, even if you've had problems getting finance elsewhere. So whether it's that dream holiday you've been promising yourselves, improving your home with a fantastic new kitchen, clearing your existing debts and reducing your outgoings, or even a brand new car, add colour to your life and call Purple Loans now on 0800 499 499 or apply online.
Have you heard the news? With post office phone cards you get so much more. No more clock watching, as we charge by the second, not by the minute. No more wasted call time, as you can transfer it from one card to another. And what's more, there's no service charge, plus access is free. Loads of opportunities to buy one in more than 17,000 post office branches nationwide. And with great call rates, what more do you need? Post office phone cards. What's your news?
There's one sure way to pick out a good driver. Check their no-claim discount. That's what eSure do. If you're a good driver with 4 or more years no-claim discount, eSure could save you up to 30% on your car insurance. Edward Brown saved £70 on his. Susan Paul saved £186 with eSure, and Mark Bennett saved £457. Are you one of the good guys? If you've got 4 or more years no claims, see how much you could save. Call eSure on 0845 045 5545. Do it now.
If your mobile's wasting money, here's what to do. Just head for the link. Our expert knowledge ensures you'll get our best deal for you. Take the brilliant Nokia 7210. It's free at the link on T-Mobile. Plus, we'll add this clip-on camera free. Plus 100 free picture messages too. Free phone, free camera, free pics. The link. We've got the knowledge that could save you money.
Is this your car?
Yes. Are you all right?
Fine.
Bonjour, je suis Alexandre Vinokourov. Vous regardez le Tour de France sur ITV.
Welcome back. Now, before we rejoin the team time trial action, your daily chance to get your hands on a superb Trek racing bike. It's competition time. Now, according to Lance Armstrong's best-selling autobiography, it's not about the bike, but then he doesn't have to buy his own, does he? Anyway, Lance is the subject of our competition, and we're bowling underarm with this question. We want to know how many times in succession Lance Armstrong has won the Tour. Is it 2, 4 or 6? 09001 22 9922 is the number to call, and lines close at midnight next Saturday. First correct answer out of the hat wins this superb Trek 1000 bike. And for 5 runners-up, there are copies of the official Tour de France Centennial book, which is packed with original race reports and some superb archive photos. By the way, if you want to check the competition details or ask us any questions, log on to the Tour page of the ITV website. And while we've got the graphics up, a reminder that we're live on ITV1 this Sunday afternoon at 3:30 for Stage 8, finishing on the legendary climb of Alpe d'Huez. Well, ibanesto.com was still leading Stage 4 when we left it. Let's rejoin the team time trial now with the arrival of Tyler Hamilton's squad.
So we swung to the finish to see the arrival now of CSC. They were a little bit off the best time at the previous checks. I don't think we can expect a great ride now by this team, but they brought them injured a team leader to the finish today. There's no point in this rider going clear of the field because the clock won't stop until the 5th man crosses the line, so they may as well wait. That's why the riders are fanned out and on the line. 1:20.12, not bad. 5th at the moment after that.
Absolutely superb performance by those guys. This is Nicolas Jalabert on the far side of the road. I'm just looking down this list of riders to see if I can spot Tyler Hamilton was with them. But what a ride he did for the team to keep them up there as close as possible to the top of the overall standings in this team time trial competition. And we go back out further on the road to the team who are now really lighting up the pace. The Once squad of Spain have got the fastest time at the 2nd time check, 44 kilometers covered, and this is what team time trialing is all about. This team is a team that in the last 3 years have won their team time trial on 2 occasions, and they'll try and certainly do that again today. A new team basically only reformed a month before the Tour de France, and the Tour de France gave them the chance of getting together all of their documentation for the possibility of bringing the man called Jan Ullrich into the Tour, the man who everybody regards as the most talented cyclist in the world, Lance Armstrong included.
Well, looking down at that lovely team now, led by Captain Ullrich, and he's keeping all 9 men together. Just look how they are riding straight into a headwind, so they're hiding behind one another and just using the one man at the front. He'll do whatever distance he feels he's strong over. Then he will swing off and he'll allow the wind to blow him gently back, and then he'll hook up at the rear of the train and go through again when his turn comes. They're not panicking, Paul, and I've seen that with most of the teams today. They seem to have opted to carry all of their men to the finish rather than rip their team apart. Here's Euskardi. Not a good ride here, and we're only at the 44 kilometre point for this team. 13 and slipping away. Now this is bad news for Iban Mayo, because in the mountains we will see a lot of that rider, but you can't afford to concede too much time in the team time trial to riders like Armstrong and Ullrich. Well, Paul, when they get with this team to that 44 kilometres check, it is going to be a very interesting time, because they weren't in the thick of the action. They did 21 minutes and 39 seconds at the first check, and that wasn't up amongst the leaders.
There's Armstrong sitting at the back, and I think they will accelerate. He looks absolutely relaxed himself. He doesn't have any problems at all. He's the strongest man in the team, but he can't just ride away and rip the team to pieces. He needs every one of the men in this team to help him keep the pace high. Hincapie just slipping to the back there. He's done his turn at the front. Amazing to see George Hincapie bounce back the way he has done. Well, as we go back to the finishing line right now, we should see the arrival of Quick Step David Amont. And they are coming in with a fairly respectable time, Phil, and they may well just be able to push ibonesto.com off the top, but it's a long way to the line from here.
But they have done, like a lot of teams, they were only 6th fastest at the very first check, and here they are now. They're trying to challenge for the lead. They won't get that, but they'll be right up there. So not too far to the line now. They could make a top 3 time, so they've got quicker and quicker as the race has gone on, and that might be exactly what US Postal are trying to do as well. That's the final bend, and the team very much together, and Paolo Bettini looking for the sprint with them on the Italian jersey. They've held on to second. They've come back 1:19.50, a very good time, and they prove to us that a slow start might be the way to go.
Let's not forget the latter part of this course, we do turn up towards the north, and the wind which is rising is a north to northwesterly, so it'll be on the riders' faces for the last 50% of the course, which is possibly why many of these teams are trying to start just that little bit slower to save the energy for the acceleration in the last part of racing. There is the team, the armada of the US Postal Service, the men who will be adopting this position later on in the Tour if they can get Lance Armstrong into the yellow jersey. I think Armstrong would really dearly love to win the team time trial here today, Phil. He enjoys this discipline because it shows off just how good and how strong his team are. They finished 2nd in the race last year, 16 seconds in arrears, and the impressive thing is that if they could win this today, they could give their teammate Victor Hugo Peña the possibility of being the first Colombian rider ever to wear a yellow jersey in the Tour de France, and Lance would really enjoy that.
He certainly would. Now they've got the best seat in the house, haven't they, as they look around and look at the strength of that French flag flying. Really a headwind here, proving to be a most difficult time trial. Now you see a slow start will leave you with some strength to get into this headwind as it closes over towards the end. There's a nice portrait of the face of Jan Ullrich here, hidden behind those glasses and under his helmet, driving on. I mean, he could be in yellow tonight if he could get the best time, but that's a bit too much. But look at the concentration here. His mouth dry and tacky because the weather is so hot and humid today. They're concentrating. This is the man he will possibly be up against in the high mountains. Remember when they shook hands a couple of years ago at the top of the last climb at Les Ardiden? They finished first and second in the Tour de France. It might be that way in the next 2 weeks, but we've got to see a bit more of confidence from Jan Ullrich.
What a big battle it was between Lance Armstrong in second position here in the line of the US Postal Service team and Jan Ullrich. Ullrich never laid down arms until the final big climb of the Tour de France.
Here comes Bianchi. They'll be the next team through. And then this will give us some indication. They were running 2 seconds slower than US Postal at the first check. So this will be interesting, Paul.
It's going to be very interesting indeed, because the time to beat is that of Once, 50:59, and in fact Team Bianchi are threatening to come through there very close to the time of Once, but they're not going to do it this time. But they still have a lot of strong bike riders, and there's a big possibility that they could accelerate towards the end. Second place for Team Bianchi, in fact dropping down to third there. It's a long way to the clock stops at this intermediary time point. There's Jan Ullrich just on the left-hand side. What a picture of concentration. This man surrounded by his team, the team that he hopes will, in the next 2.5 weeks of bike racing, make him a challenger to Lance Armstrong's superiority.
Looking there at Jashiva Balokin, the Once team, who are becoming the big threat and likely the next leaders of this time trial when they get there. They've gone through the 59-kilometer check with the best time so far. The teams behind, of course, haven't arrived there yet. 1:7:44 it was, ahead of iBanesto.com. They did 1 hour, 8 minutes and 2 seconds. So they are in with the best time just now. So they've got about 10 minutes still to ride, the Once team. And I think they're going to come in with a very, very good time. Probably the time to beat. There are only 4 kilometres to go now. Here comes the Postal now, and this is going to be a most crucial checkpoint at 44 kilometres, because they were only the 7th best team at the first check of 18 kilometres. Big cheers for this team. They have a lot of fans in France, despite what you may hear in the press. But look at this. They are going through to run very close to Once, the new men on the leaderboard here. There's still a little way to go, but I have a feeling, Paul, that this is going to be the best time. They've started slowly and they have stoked up the engine. Once 50:59. Here comes the time check now as they come up this little rise towards the camera. They may just be outside of Once because it's still a little way to go. Vyacheslav Yekimov driving on with Armstrong. The whole team, all the boys in blue, looking good. They're going to go behind Once by 1-2 seconds as we count. A long way, isn't it? But I tell you what, Once are a fast improving team today. And this message will go back to Once as well, because you can rest assured that the Venga man, Manolo Sainz, will tell his boys that they are ahead of Postal. As they get through to the finish, it will be a new best time, because they were 18 seconds quicker than iBanesto at the last time check of the day, 6 miles back. So I think that Manolo Sainz has really done the trick again with these boys. Only US Postal, it seems now, have got the power that might topple Once. There are rivals in the team time trial. Once, these last 3 years, have either won or finished second, and I think they're going to do the same again now. On the line, Paul, yes, 1:18:57.
Hi, I'm Victor Hugo Peña, and you are watching the Tour de France on ITV.
to grip at each corner, at each moment. That's our commitment at Michelin. Michelin, high performance, time and again. And for exceptional driving performance, the new Michelin Pilot Sport.
Looking for a loan company that listens to you and understands what you want, offers a huge choice of loans and mortgages, provides great customer service and more? Well, if you're a homeowner, call Purple Loans free on 0800 499 499. They promise to act fast and aim to get you the best deal, even if you've had problems getting finance elsewhere. So whether it's that dream holiday you've been promising yourselves, improving your home with a fantastic new kitchen, clearing your existing debts and reducing your outgoings, or even a brand new car, add colour to your life and call Purple Loans now on 0800 499 499 or apply online.
Mary called this number. She received medical treatment when she wanted it.
I had a cancerous lump. They operated the next day. Life's priorities changed. For the first time, I appreciated the value of health. I wanted to enjoy my son growing up. I was fortunate. I was in safe hands. I'm here now to tell my story and enjoy the rest of my life.
Call Bupa for a personal quote on 0800 600 500.
Norwich Union Direct. Yeah, I'll do about 10,000 miles and I want you to quote me happy. I want to feel that happiness warm me like the sun. Quote me happy. Bring it on. Yes! Yes!
Let Norwich Union Direct put a smile on your face. Call 0800 828 829 and let us quote you happy.
Where is everyone? Dunno. There's no one left. We're being wiped out.
New Dulux Real Life. 10 times tougher than ordinary matte paint.
Have you heard the news? With post office phone cards, you get so much more. No more clock watching, as we charge by the second, not by the minute. No more wasted call time, as you can transfer it from one card to another. And what's more, there's no service charge, plus access is free. Loads of opportunities to buy one in more than 17,000 post office branches nationwide. And with great call rates, what more do you need? Post office phone cards. What's your news?
Hi, I'm Georgine Cappy. You're watching the Tour de France on ITV.
Well, the only other team, providing they continue to increase speed, that can rival ONCE apart from US Postal is Team Bianchi of Jan Ullrich, 18 seconds behind ONCE at the last check we had, and we're waiting now for the check at 59 kilometres for the top two teams, Bianchi and US Postal.
This is AG2R, a team that have posted some very reasonable times out on the course, and I certainly, for one, did not expect to see them so high to the top of the finishing post here in the team time trial, because this team have done a superb job of work out on this 69-kilometre route.
Yes, they've had a good start to the season. They won the Jacobs Creek Tour Down Under in Australia, and with Astroloa, and I think that they're going to have a very good time here, which is more important. They're getting into the little zone now where they slip down a bit, but 7th place at the moment, 1:20.05, and I think they'll be pretty pleased with that. Andy Fleekinger, of course, looking for that white jersey of top young rider, and you know, it's not going to hurt him too much that time. It's a very good performance.
Oh, there's a rider there just being dropped by Team Bianchi, dropped by by Jan Ullrich's team. He's given his all to the team, and right now he's going to get a chance to see just how fast the US Postal Service team are riding. Euskaltel-Euskadi, well, it's a sad position for them because they will lose themselves an awful lot in the overall standings. That was David Echavarria leading them through there, but they will slip down. And in fact, there are two men that we expected to ride well, Jaime Zubeldia and of course Iban Mayo, will find themselves almost 3 minutes behind in the overall classification at the end of today.
There's Lance Armstrong, where's one as the winner of last year's Tour de France, but of course he's been the winner of the Tour de France since 1999. and if he can win this year, then he gets his 5th and joins a very, very exclusive club of 4 other riders. Now look at this, we've just gone through in 1:7:27, Paul. It is the best time over Oncé by 17 seconds. Now we never saw that time check until then.
Well, that really is remarkable. That will go straight into the earpieces of the US Postal Service team. You can imagine Johan Brunel must be going absolutely ballistic right now, because he has just heard that his team has gone through the 59-kilometer checkpoint with the fastest time so far. They are closing in on Jan Ullrich's team, Team Bianchi, who look good themselves, but it could well be all for one, one for all towards the end, because US Postal still have their 9 men, and Ullrich, I think, has just got that information himself. He's gone to the front. He is the captain of the ship. He's picking up the pace. He'll do long turns towards the end now. He will do everything he can to keep the team in with the chance of winning this stage. But what a comeback for Jan Ullrich, and what a great comeback to the top of the sport for Team Bianchi. But these are the boys at the moment waving the flag. US Postal Service now going inside of 5 kilometers to go to the finish. Let's not forget their performances over the last 3 years. In the year 2000, they were beaten into 2nd place by Team Oncé. In 2001, they had that dramatic crash and they finished in 3rd place still. And last year, they were 2nd behind Oncé.
Just looking down here at US Postal, they're passing an Euskadel Euskadi rider there who's just felt a tornado go by them because he was dropped by his team. This is going to be a very, very crucial time now for Jan Ullrich, who is conceding at the moment only seconds to US Postal.
Well, that Euskadel Euskadi rider needs to pick up the pace just a little bit, because they started 15 minutes ahead of Lance Armstrong, so that guy has already lost himself 15 minutes. He will be on the border of elimination tonight if he doesn't pick it up. Here is Team Bianchi now getting towards the finish. This is the time they need to beat. This is the big battle now starting to set up, the battle that we predicted before the start of the tour. It could very well go down to an Armstrong-Ullrich battle against in the big mountain passes.
Well, the big man is back anyway. He's come from deep in the depths at the first check now to challenge for the lead here. Team Bianchi to Bianchi. They won't get to the Oncé time, but they might well arrive with 2nd best till US Postal finishes it off. And as they come off that final bend, it's so nice to see this colour, which used to be on the shoulders of the great Fausto Coppi. Now it's on the shoulders of the great Jan Ullrich. There he is, on the front, powering away. He knows he's running close to the leaderboard. 2nd place for the moment. 52 kilometres now, 1:19:10. Postal could well be sitting in first. They're aiming for 1 hour, 18 minutes and anything less than 57 seconds.
Well, the time right now on the finish line clock is 1 hour, 16 minutes and 58 seconds. And these boys are absolutely hammering. They know what the time to beat is. They will in fact have it in their helmets right now. It will come from their man in the team car, Johan Brunel, the winner at one stage of the fastest ever road stage of the Tour de France, a brilliant tactician, and I think he's the man who went to the boys this morning and said, take it easy over the first few kilometres, but there's now just 1 kilometre to go, 1,000 metres.
And these riders should accomplish that between 59 and 61 seconds, and that will give them an emphatic victory margin. They might even shed 1 or 2 riders here, but I've got a feeling this team has got a pack going. They're all going to come home together, even though the clock will seek out the 5th man for when it stops.
There's the time they want to beat, 1:18:57, Yatislav Ekinov, nicknamed Slava.
They're smiling.
On the front.
They're almost smiling. They know.
They've got it. This is remarkable. Landis, Phil, I didn't think he'd be at the Tour de France this year, but he's still with the boys.
This is an exhibition. They've come from the back, built up their speed all the way. There is Lance Armstrong up into 2nd place in the Tour de France tonight. He'll be the first off his bike to congratulate Victor Hugo Peña, because he overnight is the highest place to this team. He will be the next yellow jersey in this tour. He is Colombian, and no Colombian has ever led this race in 100 years. As they come to the line now, watch the clock. It's the best time. Hincapie's mixing it at the front. He waves. There you go. 1:18:27. That was a superb demonstration.
Absolutely remarkable, Phil. That is incredible. They've really done the superb time that they wanted to do. They've dreamed about this since back in the year 2000 when they finished second. Big Pavel Padronos on the front here. He was brought into the team specifically for the team time trial, specifically for the flat stages. Roberto Heras, I would think, cannot believe this. And Ekimov, hand in the air, the winner of the Olympic Games in 2000, now with the team, the winner of the team time trial here at the Tour de France. And with that, a brand new yellow jersey.
So there's the result. US Postal with a clear half-minute on the next quickest finishers. Joseba Bolocchi's Once team, with Jan Ullrich and Bianchi another 13 seconds behind them. David Miller's Cofidis teammates held him back. He and they finished over 2 minutes down. Well, Victor Hugo Peña may be the best placed US Postal rider in the classification, but not on the podium. Lance Armstrong wasn't conceding the top step for the stage win presentation, although he did sound genuinely pleased afterwards when he spoke to Ned.
Congratulations, you're coming to the fore. Great team performance.
I said so. I mean, the team was, we started with 9, we finished with 9. Everybody really did their job. I mean, we designated 5 guys to sort of carry the team, and they did that, and 2 guys that were sort of our wild cards who really came through, and Manuel and Roberto, you know, they never missed a pull. So for our 2 climbers, it was special as well, so perfect.
And how does it feel for the US Posties to be top of the tree, but for you not to be in the yellow jersey for a change?
Oh, you know, that's not a problem at all. I mean, it's we wanted to win, and we felt like we deserved to win. We felt like we had the best team, and we felt like we've you know, sort of not ridden our best the last few years. So to win is a real satisfying feeling.
And it said, as you crossed the line, it looked like you said to Victor Hugo, "Go on, you enjoyed."
I mean, the whole day, the whole ride, I kept telling him, you know, because sometimes people have bad patches, and I just say, "Hey, Victor, you know, which jersey do you want at the finish line?" And he was super.
Well, other Colombians have won stages and the King of the Mountains competition, but none of them has ever worn the yellow jersey. Victor Hugo Peña has now, and he told Matt Randall how it felt.
Victor Hugo, llegando a la línea, Lance te dijo algo.
Desde 20 kilómetros antes me decía que necesitaba lo máximo de mí porque quería verme de amarillo y quería finalmente ver el equipo ganando una crono por equipos.
Qué felicidad, ¿cómo puedes calificar este momento?
Quisiera estar en mi país ahora mirando, siendo parte de aquellos que se paraban en las vitrinas a mirar televisión para ver a Lucho Herrera, a Fabio Parra anteriormente, y que ahora pues espero que me hayan estado mirando a mí también.
Aquí hay otros colombianos que de pronto pueden luchar para un lugar entre los primeros 10. ¿Usted no?
Yo estoy para luchar para que el mejor ciclista del mundo finalmente consiga su 5º título del Tour.
So the standings tonight are radically altered, as they always are after team time trials. The top 8 places all taken by US Postal riders. The first non-postie is Joseba Bolocchi in 9th, with Jan Ullrich now 12th, 38 seconds behind Lance Armstrong. Santiago Botero now 1.5 minutes down, with Tyler Hamilton at 1:45 and David Miller 2 minutes back in 56th. After his team's poor ride, this morning's yellow jersey, Jean-Patrick Nazon, is 112th, over 3 minutes down. Now, Victor Hugo being the first Colombian to wear the yellow jersey is obviously the key fact ricocheting off commentators' microphones here tonight. What's perhaps less well publicised, though, is that he's almost certainly the first race leader riding on a tourist visa. What happened is that Victor Hugo has been living happily in Spain for the last 5 years, tried to get back into the country a couple of months ago, and for some unknown reason was stopped by immigration. And once his face has been all over the world's back pages, perhaps the Spanish authorities will recognise him and sort his visa out. Now, of more immediate interest is the fact that he will be in yellow tomorrow for the start of stage 5, 196 kilometres from Troyes to Nevers, which as usual you can see on ITV2 at 7 p.m, with those highlights repeated late night on ITV1. That's it from Saint-Dizier, though. You think this win went down well in Colombia? I think it probably did.
Última curva, tengo los hombres de Colombia, suena el silbato. Peña, Peña es el nuevo líder. Peña es el nuevo líder. El colombiano es el nuevo líder. El colombiano es el nuevo líder, señoras y señores del Tour de Francia. Colombia, Colombia, Colombia por primera vez en la historia se pone de líder, emulando y recordando a los Herrera, los Parra, las gestas del Tour de Francia en la carrera más importante del mundo. un santanderiano de raca mandaca. Víctor Hugo Peña se pone de líder del Tour de Francia, César.
Santiago Botero and Tyler Hamilton are both now over a minute and a half down on Armstrong, with David Miller at the 2-minute mark. The man whose share price fell most yesterday, though, was Jean-Patrick Nazon. 111 places from race leader to face in the crowd. Now, this is today's route, 196.5 kilometres from Troyes to Nevers, 3 intermediate sprints and a couple of fourth category climbs. Nothing too vicious, but not particularly welcome in this heat for any riders struggling with illness or injury. And Tyler Hamilton definitely falls into the latter category. He's riding with 2 hairline fractures of the collarbone, remember, and early on he was back at the doctor's car. It looked as though he decided he'd be more comfortable in the heat with the strapping off his injury. Anyway, while he was battling on, up front 5 riders had made their move. Laszlo Bedrogi of Hungary and the Quick-Step team, credit Agricole's German strongman Jens Voigt, and 3 French riders, Laurent Jalabert's younger brother Nicolas, who rides for CSC, Ludovic Turpin of AG2R, and Frédéric Finot of Jean de la Tour getting into his second big break of the race this year. Now, Finot led the break over the first climb of the day, and that put him within striking distance of the lead in the King of the Mountains competition.
Bonjour, je suis Laurent Brochard et vous regardez le Tour de France sur High TV.
Well, this year's Tour de France has so far thrown up more than its fair share of riders hitting the tarmac, thankfully without any serious consequences. But these guys have a capacity to just shrug their shoulders and get on with it. After all, for them, risking life and limb is just part of the job. From its earliest days, the Tour has taken its toll. The quest for speed has always tempted riders to go beyond the limit of what is safe. In 1935, Francesco Cepeda was the first man to lose his life on the Tour. But it wasn't until 1947 that Tour winner Jean Robic became the first rider routinely to wear a helmet. Over the decades, they have become commonplace and have doubtless saved lives. But surprisingly, some riders still prefer to ride without one. In March this year, Andrei Kivilev was killed in a fall in a French stage race. He wasn't wearing his helmet. Who can say, but it is just possible that one of these might have saved his life. Now, with that in mind, the UCI have ruled that on this year's Tour de France, every cyclist must wear a helmet on every stage. Cofidis teammate David Miller is in full agreement.
If there's only one thing we can do for Kivilev's memory, that's it, you know, and if that's the only thing we can do, then I think should do it.
Jens Voigt too has reason to put safety first.
You only got one head, so you got to protect it, and I think if it's not 40 degrees in the shade, then the helmet is not disturbing you that much. I mean, the helmets in these days, they are light. They weigh like 200, 250 grams. They got big holes for air ventilation, so it doesn't bother me at all. And I already had the helmet on all the time before because, you know, I got 3 kids at home, and you know, I'm completely pro. It's a good idea.
And Tyler Hamilton believes that riders will come to accept the new ruling.
Before, I might take my helmet off because it was so hot, and I see other riders without helmets, and I felt like they were at an advantage. So sometimes you need a little extra pickup, and that might be it to cool off a little bit. But now we're all in the same boat. Helmets are mandatory, and it is what it is. At first, you know, I felt like there was a lot of resistance in the peloton, but I believe after one, you know, next year at this time, nobody will even be talking about it.
So far, all this year's fallen riders thankfully have suffered nothing serious, but danger is never far away from the Tour. Fabio Casatelli was the last man to lose his life in 1995. Lance Armstrong, his teammate at the time, understands the complexities of racing in the Tour de France.
I think the race has everything. I think it has difficulty, it has joy, it has excitement, it even has death, which I've seen up close. But to me, it's an event that I wasn't born with and I wasn't raised with, but I've learned to love.
Nobody associated with the Tour de France would want to take away from its drama, but everyone is hoping that its tragedies become a thing of the past.
Back out on the road, the breakaway is less than 30 kilometres from the finish in Nevers, and the gap back to the chasing pack is 48 seconds.
This is Laszlo Bedrogi on the front, a great time trialist. He'll be happy with his operation this afternoon. I was very impressed with the ride by Quick Step David Tamon yesterday as well, because they also did an excellent team time trial, pulling themselves up to finish 5th at the end of the day. It seems as if a lot of teams went out with a very interesting tactic to start off slowly and save some energy towards the end, because at the end there was a very strong headwind over the last 30 kilometers or so, and the teams that actually started slowly accelerated towards the end, and that seems to be what the main field is doing right now, because the time gap starting to come down once again. We're down to 48 seconds over the main field. But these guys are a fair way down in the overall classification, and maybe if Laszlo Badrogi hadn't been in this breakaway, they may well have allowed them their freedom, because, for example, men like Turpin and Finot, they're a long way down, more than 6 minminutes behind in the overall classification.
Well, it's not been a waste of time, of course, because Finot is now the new leader of the King of the Mountains, and it's his first Tour de France. He's a young bike rider, and he's going to pull on the leader's jersey at the finish. And as I said earlier, this man he lives very close to Nevers, rides for the local cycling club, so that's an incredible achievement for him. And well, he showed us his talent a couple of days ago when he was in a breakaway of 197 kilometers, and he was caught 2 kilometers from the line. So this is a little bit late, but it's come. It's a just reward.
But it's huge for a young bike rider to get any recognition in a race like the Tour de France. It's an indication that he can rival the best men in the world, and for him it will be a very special day. But it's been a special tour so far for the Jean de la Tour team. They were heavily criticised by Lance Armstrong for their selection as a wild card into the Tour de France. They were heavily criticised by Mario Cipollini, the world champion, who felt that they had taken his place. But wearing the yellow jersey, having their man Jean-Patrick Nazon in yellow and finishing second on the stage, King of the Mountains competition at the end of the day, maybe they'll only lead it for a couple of days, but they have proved that they are in the Tour.
Now a last-ditched effort here by Frédéric Finot to finish off the golden day for this man, heading to the road, heading to the town he knows so well. He was born there, and Frédéric Finot is driving clear the field. It is a last big effort. There's the cavalry on the horizon, and the others not bothering to react. And I don't blame them, but he's going to give it a good shot. He's got 23 kilometers to hold on.
Well, he's going to have a hard job to survive. A quick photo there at the side. We caught a quick glimpse of the devil there, but he's not the real devil. He's a man who dresses up as the devil and comes to finish the last 20 kilometers of the Tour off for all of these riders. But Nevers, let's not forget, Phil, as we see these men being pulled into the main fold, leave now just one lone leader off the front of the main peloton. It's Frédéric Finot, who at the end of today's stage will be crowned as the leader of the King of the Mountains competition, charging into home ground, and not too far away from here, in fact, is a very famous Formula One circuit, the Magny-Cours, where they had the French Grand Prix just a couple of days ago.
Just looking here at Jens Voigt, just easing up. What a long way they've been away today. They've worked so hard, all for nothing.
The pressure is not on at the front end of the main field. They know they can pounce when they want and pull him back in. He's just 18 seconds off the front end of the main field. Hasselbacher, the Austrian sprinter at the back here, covered in bandages from his crash just 2 days ago. And I think the main field are just ready now, getting themselves set up for what is going to be another pretty dramatic sprint finish.
It's a reasonably wide road as they run into the finish, not extra wide, but it's very sticky because the tar has melted and a lot of the surface has disappeared, and that will make it very difficult on the run into the finish. FDJ.com, the Française des Jeux, which is the French lottery, on the left of our picture. They've had a great race so far, couldn't have imagined one better for them. The Lotto team are nursing the early leader in the green jersey for the points competition, and that of course is Robbie McEwen. Still looking though for a stage win, as now it looks as though the catch is imminent.
Certainly are a lot of sprinters in the Tour de France this year. The team on the front right now, Fassa Bortolo, are working for their sprinter Alessandro Patacchi, but this may well be a stage for possibly the German sprinter Eric Zabel to come out and show us just how rapid he can be. He'll be challenged by Oscar Freire and of course Robbie Hunter from South Africa, who I feel probably has a fair amount of team responsibility to work for the man who was a two-time champion of the world. In the other teams, we've got to think about Robbie McEwen and of course the Frenchman Jimmy Casper.
Well, it's a sad sight, but he did try to desist, but there the catch is almost on now, and the peloton 195 of them are still looking as though they haven't yet turned the screw quite tight enough. But once they pick up Frédéric Finot, then they're going to start the counter-attacks here, I think, and that is why the sprinters try not to make the catch too soon, because now they have to become active and start stopping others trying to escape.
Hello, I'm Michael Bogart, and you're watching the Tour de France on ITV.
And taking the first yellow jersey of the centenary tour. This view is from a camera inside the Cofidis team car, although it's not so much the pictures that tell the story as the sound, which comes from Cofidis director sportif Francis van Londersela.
Allez David, allez! Super David, allez mon gars, allez! Allez, je veux! Allez gagner, allez on va gagner, allez! Allez David, allez! Allez je donne David, allez! Allez, 4 secondes d'avance sur tout le monde! 4 secondes de mieux! Allez! Attends, on change de vélo! On change de vélo! On change de vélo! Allez David, allez!
Il fait le meilleur temps. Deuxième temps.
Alors ça s'est passé comment?
Manager Alain Bondu in the passenger seat there, seeing his career flash before him. Now, back out on the road, Jérôme Pinault of Brioche La Boulangère has made what looks like a doomed attempt to ride off the front, because the pack is...
What is happening right now is the strategy behind is the teams of the sprinters are trying to make sure that nobody slips off the front before we get into town. They won't be too worried about one man being clear, because one man being able to ride at 60 kilometers an hour is a very tall order to run to, and I have a feeling this young man will actually be just left out there to fry in what has been a very hot afternoon here at the Tour de France. Temperatures approaching 90 degrees Fahrenheit, well into the 30s Celsius. Jérôme Pinault of Brioche La Boulangère is not very much more than 8 or 9 seconds off the front end of the main field, but at a stage like this field, the main field can just cruise along at 55 kilometers an hour.
And they certainly can drive at those sort of speeds. We finish in front of a huge crowd today. We're out just outside the actual city of Nevers. It's a very narrow city with a lot of pedestrian areas, so you couldn't take the Tour in there. We're on the banks of the River Loire today as they get down towards the finish.
Pinault here is opening up a slight advantage over the main field, but I'm not so sure that the run into the finish is going to suit a lone rider, because from about 5 kilometers to go, it is a very long straight boulevard into the center of town. We're finishing just out alongside the Loire River, which in fact is the longest river in France at over 1,020 kilometers. It's a magnificent day here this afternoon. Pinault, in fact, had a fantastic win last year. In fact, that was in the Tour of Normandy. He's now thinking about taking glory. It's amazing, Phil, the amount of glory that the French teams have got out of these first few days of the Tour de France.
It's so hard for the foreign element to control, because these boys are in their shop window, showing themselves off to a public which is glued to the television screen, and if they're not, they're actually watching it on the roadside. They'll be approaching 1 million people along the route today, and they're talking 16 to 17 million will line the route of the Tour de France before we get back to Paris. So this man has a lot to expose, really. And you know, he's never won a bike race, because he won the overall classification in a very competitive Tour of Normandy, but he never won a single stage of the race. So he's never actually crossed the line as a winner.
There's absolutely nothing in the sport like crossing the line in first place on a road stage of any bike race and being able to throw your arms in the air. It's impossible to explain the joy that goes through your body when you can do that. It's a magic feeling. I did it a few years ago. I think I've forgotten.
Oh, no, you never forget it, Paul. Never. And this man will never forget it if he wins either. But it's going to be tough for him. He's got officially a lead of 10 seconds. Still going away rather than going back to the peloton. There's the peloton itself, fanning out a little bit. Not organised at all just now. It's the little rolling hills which are going to hurt these legs now and ruin his rhythm. He's right at the top end of his speed here. There's not much more left. He's just got to try and hang on. He will never look over his shoulder because it doesn't matter. He knows the Tour de France is sitting right behind him, and he's going up. It's 12 seconds.
12 seconds, but it really is not enough as far as I'm concerned. You can see the main field right there fanned across the road. They know they can pounce and take in their prey whenever they want. The race, by the way, has finished in Nevers 3 times before. Back in '62 it was Bruni got a win, and then in 1971 it was Eric Le Mans, and in 1986, the last time we came here, it was the big Italian sprinter Guido Bontempi. Coming up to the front here, Brioche La Boulangère. This job here is to try and slow down the pacemaking of the men on the front.
6 kilometres from the finish. They've got to work it out pretty soon. The Lotto boys are queuing up behind there to try and do something about it. I can see Robbie Hunter also there for Rabobank. The only South African cyclist in the event, and South Africa's getting themselves 1 or 2 good bike riders on the international circuit now, but there's no doubt that Robbie is still the very best.
Robbie's a great sprinter. We've seen him many times racing in events like the Tour de Langkawi. In fact, last year he was so dominant at the Tour de Langkawi. I thought he was going to take the overall win because he won the time trial and climbed exceptionally well. There's the champion of Australia down there, Stewie O'Grady.
Interesting that, Paul. Again, Stewart is coming to the front to have a little luck at the finish, because I think sooner or later O'Grady is going to land the win. He's won the stage before in the Tour de France. He's also on 2 different years worn the yellow jersey. In fact, he's got a total of 9 yellow jerseys in the Tours de France he's ridden. There's Robbie McEwen, just watching from afar at the moment in that green jersey. He's waiting for the gaps to open before he comes through. Maybe we're inside 5 kilometres to go. That's the banner. There's the charge underneath the banner. They're still saying it's 10 seconds. Well, I think we can give him that. Jerome Pino, though, don't look round. He is pedalling as fast as those bronze legs will take him. He is only 23 years of age.
He dare not look back right now, because if he does, he'll get an awful shock. He will see the whole peloton of the Tour de France charging down upon him. It is such a difficult thing to hold off the front end of the main field at speeds like this. The main field right now are pushing 55 kilometres an hour as they charge into town. When they start the sprint in earnest, there have been occasions when they've been as high as 70 kilometres an hour. This is going to be a humdinger of a finish, and it's a fairly strong, straight 5 kilometres now. Unfortunately, at 750 metres to go, there's a nasty little left-hand bend, and these guys will all be fighting to get into that bend in the first 3 or 4 places.
And that will be the crucial turn. If you're going to win the race, you need to be the first 10 riders around that bend with the run up to the line. We're going under 1 more kilometre, ticked away at 4 kilometres to go. They are still lining up behind him. The gap is now 7 seconds, but they are virtually fighting each other to get to the front of the peloton right now. Many of the riders up there are Français de Jeu, which is most interesting today. Baden Cook looking for another win.
Well, Cook was very close to the win 2 days ago. I thought he was in the ideal position, but there was a crash alongside him and Robbie McEwen. But it's all over for this man on the front from Brioche La Boulangère. Pinot is back in the fold. It's the whole of the main field, and it is the FDJeux.com, the French team. They're leading out their man, Baden Cook. He's a very explosive sprinter, and he can be led out by one of the fastest men in the world over 4,000 metres, Bradley McGee, champion of the world at the pursuit.
Just look at the style of this man. He sits there locked into that position, those legs pumping like pistons. If you can hold the speed of 50 kilometres an hour, and not many people can, believe me, then nobody can sprint off the front of the group because they can't lift the edge of the speed. And this is fantastic pacemaking now.
This is why Français de Jeu did not ride a hard team time trial yesterday. They have no aspirations for the overall bike race here at the Tour de France, but as they come now inside of 3 kilometres to go, they are thinking about another stage victory. But they're now slowly being challenged by the white and blue jerseys of Fassa Bortolo, the team of the man who's turning out to be king of the sprints, Alessandro Petacchi.
Rabobank right on the front this time. A little bit of a sweeping right-hander here now. Then it's the roundabout on the inside. Now it's a massive long straight before they make a left turn up towards the line. Down this straight, the sprinters will start to move through to pick up the wheels of their lead-out men. And there seem to be so many lead-out men on this tour. There is no one team can control it.
Andy Flickinger, AG2R, he's looking for his man Jan Kirsipuu, who will be in the middle of that gaggle of riders right now, waiting for the last moment to come to the front. Kirsipuu has always been successful, Phil, after the team time trial. He won last year after the team time trial. He did the same 2 years ago, but I think he may well have sore legs today. AG2R did a good team time trial well yesterday. Flicking her on the front, though, is keeping them right to the front and out of danger. Inside of 2 kilometres to go. Fassa Bortolo take over control once more.
About 6 men down. I saw Stuart O'Grady, the champion of Australia, and just behind Stuart O'Grady we had Eric Zabel locked in on his wheel. Watch out for that all-green colours of Robbie McEwen. He has a habit of hiding until the very last couple of metres to the line.
There's been a crash at the back. There's not affected the front end of the race right now, but 1 or 2 riders have gone down heavily. It's an Onse rider down there. It's hard to see. It is not Yoshiba Bolocchi. I'm fairly certain of that, but this is what happens as you come into the last kilometre or so. Angel Vicioso, he's a good sprinter. He's out of the count for today.
A good sprinter and losing time. He's a man who probably would have got in the action, but we really need to get back up to the front now, because Vicioso will just have to limp in. Let's hope he can get on his bike. Back to the leaders here now. Lotto is still driving as they come up towards the final kilometre, and we still have that turn to come before the finish. It's a tricky one. The whole pack now are massing at the front again. A little tumble might have disrupted the positions of some of the riders.
Well, they're all over the front. In fact, it's Lotto Domo. This is Leon Van Bon. He'll be thinking about his man, Robbie McEwen. McEwen is right in there. There's the green jersey, McEwen. There are Aussies all over the place right now, because Baden Cook is in 3rd position. Jan Kursipu is on the left-hand side. Zabel is right in with the mix too.
And there is McEwen in 5th place. Bradley McGee was 1st round, the big lead-out man who can turn up the speed towards the finish. But Stuart O'Grady's got himself in a good place. We've got Baden Cook 2nd wheel, O'Grady 3rd wheel, Zabel 4th wheel. These are the big sprinters, and the Aussies are in it again this time. Here comes the lead-out from the leader of the Tour for the first 3 days. Bradley McGee trying to launch Baden Cook for his 2nd stage win. But Stuart O'Grady this time, I think, might have other ideas. Baden Cook on the left. As Baden Cook breaks on the left now, Alexander Pataki comes down. He's so fast. Pataki has got it. 3 in a row, well, not quite in a row, but 3 wins for Pataki as he points at me in the commentary box. That was an amazing sprint. He is so fast.
I think we're seeing the birth here of the new Mario Cipollini from Italy, but he called Alessandro Pataki. He was a long way back when that sprint started. He came from a long way, maybe 6th or 7th place. He's a brilliant sprinter, win number 3. He is now the new sprinter on the block.
This has been his year of turnaround. He never won a stage of the Tour of Italy until this year. He's won 6 this year. He'd never won a stage of the Tour de France in this opening week. He has now won 3. Unbelievable. The speed as he came through that field, just it looked as though Baden Cook might have got himself another win.
And poor old Jan Kursipu was looking for the win, as he has done the last couple of years after the team time trial. He's going to have to settle for 2nd place. He's right on the wheel there of Alessandro Pataki, sweeps around Robbie McEwen there, but he just doesn't have the big gear ability to come by a flying Italian, because look at that, Pataki there, Phil, showing everybody a clean pair of wheels.
Incredible result as he comes to the line with a fantastic turn of speed.
There's the result. Pataki ahead of Jan Kursipu and Baden Cook, with Eric Zabel 4th and Robbie McEwen out of it again in 5th. Behind them, all the big names finished safely in the pack, except for Onse's Angel Vicioso. Came over the line after his crash, nursing his arm in what looks suspiciously like the broken collarbone position. In the increasingly familiar arms race, top of the podium position, though, was Alessandro Pataki. Coming into this race, all the talk was about the missing Mario Cipollini, a man who won 4 stages on his last appearance in 1999. Well, tomorrow, Pataki will be going for his 4th, and I'm not sure Mario would be able to live with him in his present form, even if he were here. So perhaps the Tour has got the world's best sprinter in its centenary edition after all.
Tutti continuano a paragonarmi a Mario, io non voglio raggiungere nessun record, la competizione che ho è con gli altri corridori, con i corridori che sono qui al Tour. Se le vinco bene, se non le vinco lo stesso.
You know, he was on me and went from behind me. When someone goes from straight out of your wheel, it's difficult to react if you're not prepared for it. And he's also very strong. He's you know, it's fair to say he's the best sprinter in the Tour.
Pataki's shown that he's probably the fastest guy here. So, you know, hopefully he starts to go backwards and we hit the hills.
Now, there was a change in the King of the Mountains competition, or the minor earldom of the Gentle Inclines, as it's known at this stage of the race. Frederic Fino taking the jersey thanks to his part in the breakaway. Still in the yellow, though, Victor Hugo Peña. And considering he couldn't get the day off work, not a bad birthday.
Can I just ask, what sort of a birthday was that, wearing the yellow jersey?
Anything at the top. Lance Armstrong riding shotgun and waiting for the first mountain stage on Saturday. And the time gaps among the contenders stay the same all the way back down the field. All right, before we go, just time to squeeze in the...
I'm Baden Cook, and you're watching the Tour de France on ITV.
Well, it's not just Paul and Phil who've been looking at the emails. I've had a little glance myself and picked up one from Carlo Porter from the North Bucks Road Club, who's been asking what exactly goes into a musette. Well, this is the Quick Step de Vitamon musette, and I've had a little explanation of what this all is. Specially prepared bread, 22 grams of individually made bread rolls, stuffed with things like marmalade and banana. 3 cakes, which they have to somehow get down every day. Strawberry flavour and things like that. Those change every day so that the riders don't get bored. A muesli bar. And this is the really revolting looking stuff. Here, a carbohydrate gel. And a brightly coloured, well, this may look like shampoo to you and me, but that is a carbohydrate drink worth 200 instant calories. And of course, all that has to be washed down with loads of iced water. Getting food on the move is a vital part of riding the Tour. It's estimated that on a typical mountain stage, riders burn up to 7,000 calories. In the Tour's earliest days, riders would park their bikes up at a roadside cafe, peruse the menu and hope that the garçon was quick on his heels. Nothing nicer than a glass of burgundy and a quick smoke before jumping back on the saddle. Water stops were often a more haphazard affair, especially when no one was on hand with a bottle. But it wasn't long before feed bags made their first appearance, even if getting hold of them was often easier said than done. Nowadays, the diet may be more scientific, but as we saw only the other day, the handover can be just as hazardous. Right, time for lunch.
The main field getting themselves organised right now. Another team moving to the front. You can see the pink jerseys of Eric Zabel coming to the front now. This is Guerini, who's decided to do some pacemaking. Axel Merckx, the tall figure of the long Belgian rider who this year almost took Liège-Bastogne-Liège. A fantastic attack by him in the final kilometres, only being wiped out by a man whose name just happens to be Lance Armstrong. These guys, I think right now, Phil, are having panic on board because they thought they had got it all sorted out, but they've had such a long, hard chase to try and pull this all back together.
Andy Fleekinger, you see, he just flicks his arm there, calls through the next man to take up the pacemaking. That's the signal. Come and give us a hand, get this tempo going. They must be absolutely amazed that the 2 riders up front after this long breakaway are doing this sort of a speed ahead of them as they continue now. And Guerini coming through for Telecom. All of the teams with sprinters are now sending men to the front.
Absolute panic in the main field here right now. Didier Rousse in the red, white and blue, champion of France. Rolf Aldag now coming to the front end of the main field in the pink and black jersey. He is a member of Deutsches Telekom, the team that want to set up their man Eric Zabel. Andy Flickinger, I have to say, in the white jersey here of AG2R, doing a sterling job of pacemaking on the front end of the main field. And in fact, the pressure is so hard. For the first time in this Tour de France, riders are getting shelled out of the back of the peloton. Dario Cioni, who we saw do an awful lot of work for his leader Fassa Bortolo a few moments ago, has gone out of the back of the main field.
1 minute 55, they've just told us on race radio under that banner. That, I think, will be enough for them to pick them up. I'm sorry to have to say, in many, many ways, because this has been a great escape. But, you know, it's been a week of great escapes, and none of them have reached the finishing line.
It will be great to see these 2 men survive. It's always good when a breakaway succeeds. It's good for the morale of the troop. It's also good for the attackers in the main field to know they're not always going to get swept up by the sprinters. These guys now are only hoping that they can get into the outskirts of Lyon with still a fraction of their advantage. It is a fast run-in, and it's not really ideal for a breakaway situation because there are so many long, straight boulevards to come, and the main field is boring along at 70 kilometers an hour, which is absolutely exceptional.
Jeslan responding to the call from O'Grady there to come by and work. He's got a heart the size of a lion, this man. As he's out of the saddle, does what he can, then O'Grady has a quick chance to recover. He only needs less than a minute and he can do it again. There's O'Grady now taking a few deep breaths in the slipstream. The gap coming down, 1 minute 54 now. Huge, huge crowds here. We're into the last 12 kilometres of the stage. We're into the suburbs really now of Lyon. which is being visited for the 16th time in the history of the Tour de France. It was well used in the early days, 1903 and 1904, and now they're seeing the return of the great men of the Tour de France. There were no Australians in the race, by the way, 100 years ago.
No, but there were some Australians who rode some of the early tours. I think in around about 1912 there were some Australians took part in the Tour de France.
Before the
two
British,
guys I was
right.
reading about. And in fact, Lyon, strangely enough, hasn't held the Tour de France since 1991, and then it had two stage finishes. Thierry Marie won the prologue here, and the famous sprinter from Uzbekistan, Jamaluddin Abdudaparov, won the first road stage.
And we were off to a great tour then.
Well, it's dropping down all of the time. It's down to 1 minute and 40 seconds right now. It's coming down very rapidly now as the main field really starts to whip up the pacemaking on the front end. Stuart O'Grady, the Australian national champion, has had an awful lot of television time this afternoon. He's been at the front of this bike race since kilometre 30 on a 230-kilometre stage. We're now looking for the next banner of the day, which will indicate for these two riders there is just 10 kilometres left to go. But the main field are whipping along at an unbelievable pace.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Frédéric Pinault. Regardez le Tour sur ITV.